This research explored how immersive technologies could support the development of running skills. It builds on 3 earlier studies. The first study, conducted with running coaches, identified 4 essential aspects of performance: physical, technical, mental, and body awareness, and highlighted that the mental aspect lacks systematic training tools. Motivation and race strategy emerged as its key components. The second study examined user experience as we developed an initial cognitive behavioral-based VR application to assess the feasibility of a mental training tool focused on motivation and race strategy. The third study refined this application and explored its potential impact in an intervention preparing runners for a real race, targeting motivation through self-talk and music, and race strategy through pacing and drafting guidance. For the present paper, based on behavioral and self-reported emotional indicators, our aim was to analyze this intervention and focus on 2 goals. How can we better monitor participants' emotional reactivity during VR training sessions? How can we foster the adoption of race strategies, such as pacing and drafting? We developed an immersive, English language, cognitive behavioral-based VR application built with Unity and deployed on the Oculus Quest 2. Urban environments were created using CityGen 3D. Users interacted while standing within a virtual boundary, navigating with the thumbstick to avoid physical running and prevent changes to their natural technique, making the system suitable for home use. They could rotate by turning their head or body, and a virtual coach guided them throughout the training sessions. The VR environment included 3 types of scenes: setting, coaching, and competition. In the setting scene, participants established their baseline running speed. The 5 coaching scenes provided guidance and prepared them for the upcoming race segments. The 4 competition scenes simulated typical race stages with non-playable runners whose numbers decreased over time. Participants could adjust their pacing with a controller button, while the virtual coach offered audio guidance throughout. The VR application targeted motivation through self-talk and music, and race strategy through pacing and drafting instructions. Pacing guidance was delivered through audio cues, and 2 drafting formations were taught, one rewarded with 2 thumbs up and the less effective one with a single thumbs up. Reference markers in competition scenes 2 and 3 showed where to position oneself for correct drafting. A heads-up display in all competition scenes displayed pacing, energy, booster status, drafting effectiveness, and provided access to the self-talk feature. This study included 6 participants, 5 men and 1 woman, from different countries, all experienced in races of 5 kilometers or longer. It followed 5 phases: a first race, an educational phase, onboarding, the VR training phase, and a second race, spanning about 4 weeks with flexible scheduling. For this paper, we focus only on the VR training phase. Due to a possible device malfunction, log data from participant 4 was not recorded. We used the Oculus Quest 2 as the main VR device. For self-assessment, we employed the Emotional Stress Reaction Questionnaire, a 14-item questionnaire using a 4-point Likert scale designed to capture emotional responses in approximately 60 seconds. It measures 4 appraisal categories: irrelevant, benign positive, challenge, and threat harm loss. This paper used 4 indicators and their corresponding metrics. The emotional response indicator captured the change between pre- and post-session questionnaire scores across 4 appraisal categories. The pacing performance indicator included a pacing profile per competition scene and an average pacing value per session. The drafting performance indicator measured points earned with and without hints, and the number of successful repetitions of each drafting formation. Finally, the session duration indicator recorded the total time of each session. For the emotional response indicator, irrelevant appraisals stayed low. Benign positive trends were mixed, with increases mainly in P2, P5, and partly P3. Challenge appraisals were positive for P2 and P6, while others fluctuated or stayed negative. Threat harm loss values were mostly positive but variable for P2, P5, and P6, and mostly negative for P1 and P3. For the pacing performance indicator, 2 patterns emerged. Some participants stabilized their pacing profile metrics, while others continued to vary, with the most variability early on and stabilization in mid-sessions. Average pacing metrics increased for all except P3. P2 and P5 showed mid-session dips with recovery, while P1 and P6 improved more steadily. For the drafting performance indicator, most participants earned more points when hints were available, showing that hints supported strategy use. Some improved without hints over time, while others showed limited independent application. Formation 2 was performed more frequently and consistently than Formation 1, which showed slower and less stable uptake. Finally, speaking of the session duration indicator, it shows decreasing session durations across participants, stabilizing around 600 to 800 seconds after early sessions. P1 and P6 improved fastest, while P2, P3, and P5 stabilized more gradually. To monitor emotional reactivity, we used the 4 appraisal metrics. Irrelevant and benign positive appraisals showed little consistency, offering limited value. In contrast, challenge and threat harm-loss metrics were more sensitive. Challenge appraisals could guide adaptive task difficulty, while threat harm-loss could act as an early warning signal to trigger supportive or simplified interventions. To foster adoption of pacing and drafting strategies, we examined the pacing, drafting, and session duration indicators. Pacing profiles showed that some participants stabilized while others did not, suggesting targeted feedback for non-converging users. Average pacing improved overall, supporting adaptive pacing models. Drafting results showed that hints boosted performance but transfer varied, indicating the need for gradual hint fading. Formation 2 was consistently preferred, while Formation may first require redesign. Session duration decreased over time, enabling more complex scenarios without extending training. Our findings show that combining emotional appraisals with behavioral indicators helps identify refinements such as adaptive task difficulty, graduated hint systems, and personalized pacing feedback. Many indicators stabilized around sessions 4 to 5, suggesting these mid-sessions as effective points to introduce such refinements for users.